Still need to get a couple of those mics muted because I'm getting a
Yes,
lot of background noise.
I'm gonna ask everyone if you can just please mute your mics for me so we don't get the feedback. So once more, I'm the Chief Governor for AUGP USA, and today we're talking about the 5 levels of leadership. On slide number 2, I trust that everyone can see the slide. The 5 levels of leadership, a look at why people follow their leaders. Number 1, we're going to talk about position, which is equal to right. Number 2, Chief Governor for AUGP, everyone, a look at why people position, which is equal to right. I'm hearing
please mute your line, please mute your line.
Yeah, everyone, can you mute your line, please?
Kiwi, I have a problem with my laptop. I'm asked, can you mute my mic for me, please? On both channels.
Who's making the request?
This is Michael. I'm down here.
Okay.
You'll see me on twice. Please mute my. I can control one, but I can't control the other. Can you mute it for me, please? Thanks.
It's not allowing me to mute you.
I have a problem with. Or the host is supposed to have the option to mute all at once.
Yeah, it's not allowing me to mute you, Michael.
All right, I'll take off the laptop.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback there.
Dr. Levine would have to mute his mic as well, and Tricia Patrice. They'll need to do a bit of muting there.
All right, that sounds better. Thank you so much.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so we're going to talk about number 1, position equal to rights. Number 2, permission equals to relationships. Number 3, production equals to results. Number 4, people, which is equals to reproduction. And number 5, personhood, which is equal to respect. And we're going to talk about how that relates to us and how we can make that work for us in our leadership role. On slide 3, the 5 levels of leadership. Number 1, position, which is equal to rights. People follow you because they have to. Number 2, permission, which is equal to relationships. People follow you because they want to. So we're going to talk about that for a brief moment. When we have positional leadership, people follow you because they have to, because those are people that's in a particular position, and based on their position, for example, like if we're talking about people in the military, because of their position, their insubordinates would have to follow their leadership based on their position. On point number 2, permission, when we have relationship with people, they would follow us because they want to, because we have a relationship. And point number 3, on production, which is equal to results. People follow because of what you have done for the organization. So in production, and when we want to get results, we lead by example. We lead by example. And because we are performers, people would follow us. We have a total of 5 points. On point number 4, just bear with me one moment. One moment, please. Okay, Sorry about that. Point number 4, people development, reproduction. People follow because of what you have done for them. And I'm sure in every one of our experiences, we have in one way or the other experience that as leaders, when you have done something to make an impact in people's lives, they would follow you because of what you've done for them. Point number 5, personhood, respect. People follow because of who you are and what you represent, which brings us to a very big question. What do we represent? In our leadership role, we have to be aware of what we represent. In our representation as leaders, are we showing our followers that we believe in them, that they have value, that they have something of worth, that as leaders, we don't just employ them for a specific task, but we believe in their gifting, their talents, their abilities, and that they are somebody, that they're important to humanity and have a contribution towards humanity, and they can be somebody of significant value. See, I believe the best leader, the best person that we can ever be is our own selves, and not striving to be like anybody else. But as leaders, I believe it's our responsibility to bring people up, to step up, to raise the bar, and to believe in people in such a way so that they would raise those bars and step up to become the best of themselves that they can ever be. Number 1, position. People follow you because they have to. There's a Bible principles. There's a Bible principle and a gentleman by the name of Rehoboam, and we're going to talk about the law of lid. Leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. And let me say that again. Leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. So in leadership, if our abilities is become stagnated, we limit ourselves and our effectiveness in being a leader. So this is a Bible reference from 1 Kings 11:43. And it says that, and Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam, his son, reigned in his stead. Rehoboam was the heir to the throne of his father Solomon and became king after the death of his father. From a positional standpoint, he became a leader because of who his father was. Received wise counsel from the elders, which he refused, and chose to consult with his young friends who gave him bad counsel, but yet he followed their advice, which led him to destruction. See, he became a leader from a positional standpoint, and people respected him from that position. On slide 7, the law of lid. We're going to talk about the law of lid, which is the first law. Leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness, which we mentioned just now. So on point number 1, you can only go as far as you know, which would lead you to a very bigger question. What do you know? Do you know what it takes? Are you familiar with all the circumstances of your job, all that's required for you to do, all that's required for your insubordinates to do? It's very important that we become aware of these things. Point number 2, the higher the leadership, the greater the effectiveness. Your leadership ability always determines your effectiveness and the potential of your organization. Point number 4, if your leadership is only a 4, then your effectiveness will only be a 3. Number 5, weak leadership would put a lid on your ability to succeed. That's weak leadership. Number 6, the greater the impact you want to make, the greater your influence needs to be. Number 7, whatever you will accomplish is restricted by your ability to lead others. Let me say that, let me read that one again. Whatever you will accomplish is restricted by your ability to lead others. Number 8, to change the effectiveness of the team, lift up the leadership of the coach. So in other words, if we're leading people, we have to raise the bar for ourselves, become a better leader, invest in ourselves as leaders, and allow our capacity to grow in order to lead the people that is following us. Number 9, to reach the highest level of effectiveness, you have to raise the lid one way or the other. Slide number 8, point number 2, permission. People follow you because they want to. Biblical example would be Nehemiah, the law of connection. Leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Nehemiah 1:3. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The walls of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Nehemiah's first sought the permission of Almighty God, and then the permission of the king, of whom he was a cupbearer to. Nehemiah received permission from God to the king to become the representative and leader of the people. Because Nehemiah received permission, he was also given approval, authority to do his job, which allowed him all the required resources necessary to perform his task with great success. Permission. Slide number 10. The law of connection. Leaders touch the heart before they ask for the hand. So as leaders, if we want people to perform, we have to make a connection with the heart. You can't move people into an action unless you first move them with emotion. The heart comes before the hand. Number 2, the stronger the relationship and connection between individuals, the more likely the follower will want to help the leader. Point number 3, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So we can be very talented people and very skillful in what we say and what we do. It all comes down to not the greatness of who we are and what we know. People really want to see that we care. And when they know that we care, they will follow. Point number 3, how much do we care? Is it being shown more than what we need and what we're involved in? Point number 4, successful leaders connect with one person at a time and relate to them as individuals. How many times as leaders have you tried getting things done, and let's just say you're in an atmosphere where you have multiple people under you and you need to complete a task. And in that task, we become so busy sometimes that we pass people by, and because they are not, sometimes they may not seem as significant as others, or their importance may not be as great as others. But the key here to being a successful leader is being able to connect with people as individuals, one person at a time. Take a moment in our busy schedule, in our busy day. Let's take a moment to connect with people on a one-to-one basis. Sometimes You want to say hello to people, and as you're passing by, you just say hello and run along. Stop, take 2 minutes and say hello. Shake the person's hand. And we have the tendency sometimes to, if we want to ask someone or say hello to someone, we say hello, how are you? And we run away. We don't take 1 minute to stand right there and look the person in the eye and ask, how are you? And really have a sincere concern to find out how that person is really doing. So we should take that moment to show from the heart that we really care. Point number 4, connecting with one person at a time. Point number 5, successful leaders initiate connection with people. What does that mean? Instead of waiting for people to come and greet you or to connect with you, a successful leader would take the time to go connect with the person that seems insignificant, the people that is less liked or does not seem as great as the rest of the others, but would take a moment to initiate a connection with people. Point number 6, never underestimate building relationships with people before asking them to follow you. See, when you have a relationship with people, it makes it very easy to work with. But if we underestimate that and we don't build a relationship and expect people to follow, they don't just follow. Point number 7, when a leader has done the work to connect with the people, the vision of the leader becomes the aspiration of the people. So in that work, in taking a moment to connect with people, we get things done. We get people to follow by sincerely connecting with them and building that relationship. Number 8, to lead yourself, use your head. To lead others, use your heart. Slide number 11, production. People follow you because of what you've done for the organization or church. The law of respect. People naturally follow a leader stronger than themselves. And here we talk about a reference of David, King David, when he had faced Goliath and everybody else was backing down, but David, on the other hand, stood up against the giant. And he used that stone and struck the giant on the head and slew the giant. So, you know, in every which way, people develop respect for us by by our involvement and the things that we do. The law of respect. Point number 1, when people respect someone as a person, they admire them. Point number 2, when they respect them as a friend, they love them. When they admire them as a leader, they follow them. Point number 4, the more leadership ability a person has, the more quickly he recognizes leadership or its lack in others. Point number 5, a leader must know that he knows and must be able to make it abundantly clear to those about him that he knows. See, a leader must know. And a leader must be able to express that he knows. Number 6, successful leaders display incredible loyalty and respect towards his people. Successful leaders. So these points here are loyalty and respect. Not asking the people to show loyalty and respect, but as a leader to show the people loyalty and respect. Point number 7, great leaders invest an enormous amount of time and energy in building relationships and adding value to the lives of his people. Point number 8. Successful leaders spend a lifetime in developing their leadership skills. So as leaders, we are never done learning because we're leading people from different backgrounds and cultures and religion and beliefs and faith and different skill set. We have to continue to build ourselves as leaders, expand our abilities and our skills to lead the people that follows us. Slide number 14, people development. People follow you because of what you've done for them. Paul, for example, the law of explosive growth. To add growth, lead followers. To multiply, lead leaders. So real quick, I'm going to read this. These are biblical references. Ephesians 3, may be able to comprehend with all saints what is the breadth and length and depth and height, and to know the love of Christ which passeth knowledge, that he might be filled with all the fullness of God. That he that descended is the same also that has ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors, some teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. Welcome, Chief. But here we see that people follow because of what you've done for them. Just going to leave off the biblical scriptures there for a little bit. And I'm going to go down to slide number 18. The law of explosive growth. To add growth, lead followers. To multiply, lead leaders. As leaders, our goal should be to develop leaders. Never be intimidated by young leaders that's rising up, becoming leaders, or have potential or ability to lead. Our goal to multiply should be to lead leaders, help to make them leaders. A successful leader builds the people who are going to build. Point number 2, to develop leaders, you must develop people. If you want to develop people, you have to build them, feed them, help them to grow, help them to know. Point number 3, add 10 followers to your organization and you have 10 people. Add 10 leaders and you will have the power of 10 leaders. To go to the highest level, you have to develop leaders of leaders. So it's not really about developing followers or having a goal to have many followers, but to have many leaders. Point number 5. I'm not sure. Can you, somebody's mic, can you please mute the mic for a moment? Thank you. Point number 5. To add growth, lead followers, but to multiply growth, lead leaders. Point number 6. The only way to experience an explosive level of growth is to do the math. Train 1 out of every 10 people to develop as a leader. Slide number 19. Personhood. People will follow you because of who you are and what you represent. The law of influence. And I personally believe in this law above everything else. Influence. It's all about influence. The true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So we have some biblical references. I'm gonna skip the biblical references about influence. And I'm just gonna move to the other point. The law of influence. The true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. As influence increase, it will enable your ability to make things happen. Number two, true leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. It comes only from influence. It must be earned. Point number three, it is not the position that makes the leader, but the leader that makes the position. And that's very true. Point number four, to be an effective leader, you must earn the right. Point number five, he who thinks he leads but has no followers is only taking a walk. Number six, if you can't influence others, they won't follow you. Let's talk about climbing the steps of leadership. The higher you go, the longer it takes. The higher you go, the higher level of commitment. Point number three, the higher you go, the easier it is to lead. Point number four, the higher you grow, the greater the growth. Point number five, you never leave the base level or the levels below where you are. Point number six, as a leader, you won't be on the same level with all of your people. Point number seven, you must work to carry other leaders with you up the steps. Slide number 24. Climbing the steps of leadership. A good leader believes in his people. Take them with you. Know their names. Leave none behind. Watch over them. Show them you care. Invest in them. Do they know that you care? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Slide number 25. How do we climb the leadership steps? Consistently ask God to build you into a more effective leader. Develop confidence in your people's skills. Point number three, see every relationship you have as a chance to develop that person. Point number four, walk slowly through the crowds. Sometimes we walk so fast as leaders that people don't have a moment to interact with us, for us to show that we care. Sometimes we find ourselves so busy that as a leader, some of the people that work with us or for us or under us, we don't even know their names because we're too busy as leaders. We have to take a moment and slow down. Walk slowly through the crowd. Get to know them. Allow them to know you. Point number five, consistently keep a list of potential leaders you can invest in. Seek people out to build them. Be interested in your followers to make leaders out of them. Damien, welcome, Your Excellency. How do we climb the leadership steps? Continually build yourself. Sharpen your people's skills. Continue to build relationships. And that will allow you the opportunity to build people. Take time to get to know the people. Say hello. Consistently seek to make leaders out of the followers. The Jesus principle. 3 things Jesus did to develop disciples. And these are the things that we should really pay very close attention to. He inspired them. As leaders, are we inspiring our people? Point number 2, he instructed them. As leaders, are we expecting people to perform, to do a task, to get things done without instructions? Or are we instructing them? Point number 3, he involved them, made them feel part of the process of what he was involved in. As leaders, are we involving our people in the things that we are doing to make them feel that they're part of the process, that they have value and they have worth, and it's worth something to make them feel important? Love unconditionally, serve without limits. And that's not speaking to the followers, that is speaking to the leaders. As leaders, we should love unconditionally. We should serve without limits. Slide number 28. Building the leaderships. To become great, you must become small. To be the greatest leaders means that you must be the greatest servant. That's a quote by Mother Teresa. If you want to be a great leader, be a great servant. Treat all people, great or small, with love and respect. Recognize the unrecognized. Have a 5-minute conversation. Target the lonely and make a friend. Give something first. Reach out first. Engage with love, respect, and care. So if we've heard anything today, it's about loving unconditionally and serving without limits. As a leader, we often sometimes we get confused, we get distracted about who and what a leader is. But a leader is really intended, he's a person that serves the people unconditionally. It's not a mind thing to show people how superior we are, how smart we are, how knowledgeable we are, but to show them how much we care, that they matter. Show them that they matter. Serve without limits. As a leader, we serve the people that follow us, that's been placed in our care, so that we can serve them and build them to be somebody, to be the best that God has designed them to be. So in wrapping this up today, I want to say thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time and allowing me the opportunity to speak into your lives, into the values of leadership and how we can make a difference in this present world and the conditions that we face today, especially now being faced with this pandemic. Thank you very much. Everyone can unmute your mics. If you have any thoughts, questions, I would be more than happy to